Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 8th, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. Take a moment and see if you can spot the atmospheric river, BC, Washington, Oregon. There's the Hawaiian Islands, there's Alaska, trough digging out over the Gulf of Alaska, hoping to steer this atmospheric river into the Pacific Northwest. Look at that fetch all the way back towards the subtropics. We'll take a look at the details on that here in a moment. We'll take a look at the potential warm-up here as we go through mid-April as well. We have heard that before, so we're going to take it with a grain of salt at this time range right now, but we will take a look at it here towards the end of the video nonetheless. Looking at SeaTac yesterday at 57, that is right at average. We're not doing too bad precipitation-wise for the start of this month, and we're going to add to it here over the next few days. But look, at the end of April, 63 degrees is the average high for SeaTac here, and you can see we start to hit 60 on average at about April 18th. So hopefully we can start to enjoy some of this warmer weather at some point as we go through the month of April here. Looking at current hazards, we do have some wind advisories up for the interior, up towards the San Juans, the Washington coast here as well. This would include Vancouver Island and places northbound as well, as we're going to get a low pressure system tracking across the area as we go through Sunday. We'll look at those details here in a moment also. This is day 2 excessive rainfall outlook, Washington, Oregon coastline here. Some nuisance flooding possible, but on the overall range of things here, this atmospheric river should be on the beneficial side. This is looking at 72-hour precipitation. You can see the rain shadow across some of the San Juans here. Seattle around 2 inches, Tacoma similar, and you can really see the stark rain shadow as you get further east of the Cascades. But once you get towards the higher terrain at Northeast Washington and British Columbia, those totals are going to pick up again as also. We'll take a look at that in the European run here in a moment as well. Take a look at Southeast Oregon. No precipitation expected over the next 72 hours. Big, dramatic, stark difference between Bend, Oregon, Salem, and the coastline there. Kind of a classic signature of our atmospheric rivers here that impact the Pacific Northwest, as you can see just where the Cascade Mountain Range lies. This is looking at the 7-day precipitation map. Look at Idaho Falls, Twin Falls, Boise. Not expecting really much of anything here over the next week or so. Higher terrain, a little bit different of a story here, but still nothing too crazy as far as precipitation is concerned. This is looking at the cross-section of an atmospheric river, and you can see why these get wrung out in our terrain features here. They extend about 10,000 feet or so. You can see that low-lying moist air mass there, strong horizontal water vapor flux, and they just get wrung out in our, the high Cascades and our mountain ranges out there. And that's why we get such a stark rain shadow across our region. This is looking at the NAM 12-cam hot 3-cam, the 12Z version, hot off the presses. You can see as we go through the day tomorrow, it is going to be a rainy day across much of western Washington, BC. That'll start to extend south into Oregon through the afternoon and evening hours, and then you can see this precipitation just bounce back north on the day Monday, including western Washington, in another full-on rainy day here across Pacific Northwest. That's as far out as the NAM 3-cam goes, 60 hours there. This is looking at the European model. This is Hawaii down here. You can see Washington, Oregon, BC. This is the atmospheric river. You can see it plain as day as we go through tonight into Sunday morning, eventually on into Monday morning before this thing finally starts kicking out by the time we get towards Monday evening. And then we're going to get a cool upper level trough setting up here across a lot of the West Coast. We'll take a look at that in more detail as we go over the next couple of days. This is looking at that atmospheric river. You can see the pretty good duration, up over 48 hours or into moderate territory. But again, this should be mostly beneficial across the region here. You can see it nosing up towards the strong category, maybe just briefly here on the European models ensemble mean. This is a little bit closer look at that here too. So you can see where these categories exist: exceptional, extreme, strong, moderate, and weak here. And if you get below that 250 integrated vapor transport, it is not considered an atmospheric river. Now this is looking at total precipitation in inches. Last night's European run, if we put it into motion, and you can see the big bulk of that precipitation really coming in during the day Sunday, sliding south across Oregon. And by the time we go into Monday here, Seattle might be up towards 2 inches, similar for Portland, some of the Willamette Valley, bigger amounts along the coastal ranges here and some of the Cascades. And you can see the big difference here, again, as I mentioned, between eastern Oregon and western Oregon in these model runs. And this is looking at sea level pressure. So this is what's going to bring that wind advisory wind here. As this low pressure system tracks up towards Haida Gwaii here, we're going to get a pretty good pressure gradient across the region here. That's what's going to cause some of these blustery winds. Now, just how strong are these winds going to get? So this is looking at the NAM3 cam again, and you can see some of these gusts getting up over 40 towards 50 miles per hour. Now moving into Sunday here, and look at some of these gusts peak up towards that 50 mile per hour range across some of Whidbey, maybe the San Juans, right along the Puget Sound here up towards Bellingham, for example. And as we go through the day, though, it's showing some gusts up towards 40 for maybe Olympia, Seattle as well, a little bit less through the Willamette Valley, but some pretty gusty winds along the coastline as well, maybe up towards 50 miles per hour, can't be ruled out. And you can see, of course, some of the typical areas across the higher terrain getting some nice gusts as well. This is looking at the 24-hour multiple run trend. So if you go back a few days, you saw when it was really bullseyeing Seattle with some heavy precipitation amounts. It's backed off somewhat, but it's kind of holding steady at about 9/10 of an inch of rain, maybe towards an inch there in a 24-hour period for SeaTac. This is looking at the ensemble runs. So you can see all 50 ensemble members here with the control at the bottom, calling for about 8/10 of an inch of rain in a 24-hour period. This is Quileute. It's going to be a little bit rainier out there. You can see up towards 1.5 inches potentially showing up there as you go on in through Sunday afternoon towards Monday morning. This is Tillamook. Look at this. Up towards 1.5 inches there on the control. The mean is pretty similar there as well. Pretty good agreement for some nice precipitation amounts rolling through some of the Oregon coast. And now this is where the stark difference really shows up. Look at Bend, Oregon. Not even expecting 0.2 of an inch of rain out of this precipitation maker as we go through the next few days. This is Quileute, looking at some gusts potentially up towards 50 miles per hour, and you can see the time frame of that late Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon. This is a story a little bit less the further south you go. Now talking about the warm-up a little bit here, or at least potential for it. You can see some of this ensemble runs, and the control run actually shows a decent warm-up coming here as we go towards mid-April. But we've heard this before, and we are still a ways out. So don't get your hopes up too much just yet. We'll watch to see how this trends over the next few days. Seattle, Tacoma, same thing here as Portland. And you can see that a couple of those days in the control run are actually up over 70 degrees. I think the city would just freak out at that point. You'd probably have, the beaches would be packed, for example, if you start hitting 70 degrees after the spring/winter we've been going through here. This is Vancouver. You can see that similar warm-up here coming through the 16th, 17th, 18th there. This is looking at Spokane. Not too bad. It might actually warm up into the 60s here as you go through Sunday and Monday coming up. And then that cold upper level trough will move over the region here. Then the potential warm-up showing in our extended. This is looking up towards 18,000 feet. This is yesterday afternoon's European run. I want to give some caution here on what's coming as we go. So here's our atmospheric river moving through Sunday, Monday, cold upper level trough here. And then we kind of stay with this trough out over the Gulf of Alaska, but this ridge is building here. But again, this is a very fine line between this much colder air and some of the warmer air that would develop with some of this ridging here. So we need to be cautious with that warm-up coming up there. Don't get your hopes up just yet, because you can see kind of this troughing hanging around. It's pretty close here as we go through the extended forecast. So we'll watch that trend over the next few days. This is looking at maximum individual wave height. As we go through tomorrow, you can see by Sunday morning, we're going to get a bump in some of the wave heights here across some of Vancouver Island, Western BC, Washington, Oregon beaches there. So if you like storm watching, tomorrow might not be a bad day for it there across a lot of our coastlines here in the Pacific Northwest. This is 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here, and this does include some of Oregon, Washington, kind of in between there. But this is the 8 to 14 day, the interesting one. Yesterday it was showing more below average here, but they've kind of bumped this up. We are now in the above average probability of the outlook here. So, we'll just watch this as we go. Like I showed you, this is no slam dunk by any means. Now, here we are looking at the European. This was issued April 1st. We looked at this yesterday as well. Here's the equatorial Pacific, where we measure La Nina or El Nino conditions. There's Hawaii, there's Australia, here's California. And if we put that into motion, here's May, June, July, August, September, October. You don't have to be a meteorologist to know that this is an extreme warming of the Pacific Ocean here, which would lead us to El Nino conditions. Potentially moderate or strong El Nino is likely on the way as we go on in through the fall months here. So that's something interesting we'll be watching here over the next few months. If you guys want a very reliable home weather station, it's very accurate. It's all wireless. It stores your data for you on the web here. It's got an ultrasonic anemometer. It's even got lightning detection. It's all solar powered. this is what to buy. So this is a very good affordable option. Click on the link below for 10% off. There's also a handheld one that does all the same things except for the lightning detection sensor there, and it doesn't have an ultrasonic anemometer, but this propeller is very accurate here. I like the ball bearings in it. I've been testing it out. It's a very good system here, and it wirelessly connects to your smartphone there as well. So click on the link below if you want 10% off on that as well. So anyway, yeah, we got a couple rainy days coming up here, folks, and some windy conditions. We got a cold upper level trough, and maybe we'll start to warm up here as we go through mid-April. We'll see how that trends over the next few days, you know, how those things go. But anyway, we're due for some nice weather here at some point, right? But anyway, yeah, click like and subscribe. Let's get the word out to everybody here across the Pacific Northwest, and we will do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.